Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So let's try to make sense of what's going on here, right? Because ever since the news dropped about Spence and Crawford, about Thurman, about Boots Ennis, about Roymond Villa, right? Everybody converged on their laptops, on their phones, and start putting out videos. So let's make sense of what's happening here, right? I'm going to go ahead and throw this out before we even get started, right? A public service announcement. Spence and Crawford, the fight's not going to happen. Get it off your radar, get it off your mind, period. Now I'm going to explain why, but if you want to know what this video is about, Spence and Crawford, the fight's not going to happen. Now, let's take a look at what the hell is going on here. First, let's peel it back a little bit, all right? Let's go on back a few months. I'm not going to go into all the Crawford-Spence negotiation falling apart crap. You guys all have an idea of what happened. Everyone has an opinion. But the bottom line is, the fight didn't happen, right? But what I want to underscore is started in 2022, when they first started talking about fighting each other, right? There's a thing a lot of people don't know. The discussion started in late 2022. So you figure from late 2021, I'm bugging, man. From late 2021, all through 2022, right? Sanctioning bodies, key decision makers. Everyone is trying to accommodate this undisputed bout between Spence and Crawford. Understand that now. It's damn near impossible to get all the sanctioning bodies to work together. Those guys want their belts defended against their mandatories. They don't want to sit here and put the mandatory on the back burner for someone else's. So to get those guys to come together, right? It's like forming Pangea. It's like you see the whole tectonic plate theory and all the continents are floating apart, but at one point they were all Pangea, right? To kind of get that Pangea of sanctioning bodies together to all agree on what they want to do, in particular going into that undisputed bout with Spence and Crawford. It's a huge hurdle to overcome, but they did it. But this is what happened. Look at how much time was wasted. Over a year, right? And if you count how much time is wasted trying to figure out what's going to happen this year, it's going on a year and a half of Spence and Crawford really not knowing what the hell they're going to do, right? Doesn't matter if you think it's Spence or Crawford's fault. That's what I'm saying, Spence and Crawford. Those two, they're like conjoined twins in this right here. They're attached to the hip, okay? You can't mention one without the other. There's a symbiotic relationship between Spence and Crawford at this moment. But with that whole year of nothing materializing, look at what happened to mandatories. Look at what happened to just top guys in the welterweight division. Everyone was sidelined because they're waiting to see whether they should go into a certain fight with a certain individual for an interim title, for a mandatory shot, or if they're going to get their opportunity since they should be next in line. They're waiting to see if Crawford's going to make the fight, Spence going to make the fight. If they're not, well, boom, I'm going to try to insert myself in the process. So instead of taking an interim fight with someone else, I'm just going to sit here and wait. Money lost. Time you can't get back. And inactivity sets in. And then the sanctioning bodies aren't making any money. So the fighters are pissed off. Promoters are pissed off. Sanctioning bodies are pissed off. Boxing fans are pissed off. So you look at what happened towards the end of the year. Crawford's like, hey, I'm going to do what's best for me, right? And then the Red Sea, shit's opened up big time, right? People start picking sides now. So now we come full circle. Those sanctioning bodies, they said, okay, this is what they want to do. We get these two big superstars, right? Boxers, elite. They can't make a decision? No problem. We're not going to let any of these boxers do that to us anymore. So initially, I'm telling you, they put targets on Spence's back. They put a target on Crawford's back. They were trying to run them out of the welterweight division. They did that by making sure Spence, he's a unified champion, but boy, look at those mandatories they were putting on Spence. Killers. Stan Eunice, Ortiz, Boots, okay, Thurman. No matter what you think. You think Spence already struggling to get to 147? Want to deal with those guys? They made it to where it's like, you know what? You MFer, you think you the big fish. Let me tell y'all right now, and I'm talking to you. The boxers don't run nothing. You hear these boxers, I'm my own boss. I make the decision. Man, no, stop. You have a voice, champ, but you can't just do what you want. Get out of here. The boxers don't put up the money for the damn fight. The promoters do. And it doesn't matter what money the promoters have. You can't get into no title fight, man, if them sanctioning bodies don't want to do business with you. Boxing's corrupt. And if you didn't think boxing was corrupt, you're kind of seeing what's going on right now, right? So they put that pressure on Spence. Discouraged the hell out of that man. Then they said, all right, Crawford is the one who we really don't like because although communication could have been better on Spence's side, his team's side, and maybe they didn't take Crawford so serious as his own man, as a guy who's guiding his career, his own boss, right? Maybe they could have communicated a little better with him. Maybe the whole thing, not giving him a guarantee. You know what? They could have handled that a little bit better. But at the end of the day, Crawford's the one who pulled out the fight. Doesn't matter if you agree, if you don't agree. This is a fact, right? Crawford chose to go and do something different. Doesn't matter. Again, let's take the emotion out of it. That's what happened. Doesn't matter if he's justified or not. Sanctioning bodies are saying, oh, okay, Mr. Boss. You want to do what you want to do, huh? You call your own shots, huh? Well, let's pluck all these big names out of the WBO and let's put them over here in these other sanctioning bodies. Let's get them in some title eliminators. Let's get them in fights to win titles. Let's make them some mandatories over here. Now, everyone, all the big names that could create big money for Terrence Crawford, they got to fight Spence if he can hold on to that belt. But at the same time, we don't want Crawford to make any money. We don't want his ass in the welterweight division no more. We don't want Spence here either. So we're going to make sure we run him out of here, Mr. Big Fish. Get his ass out here to 154. Him and Crawford. Crawford can't make any money. He's talking about going up to 154 anyway. Spence is talking about going up to 154 anyway, right? Both of them are saying they don't need each other. Sanctioning bodies are hearing this. Spence, if the Crawford fight don't happen, I'll just go to 154. I don't care. It ain't on me. I'm not waiting around for Crawford. Crawford, I don't need Spence. I don't care if the fight doesn't happen. My legacy is already cemented from the lower weight divisions. 35, 40, 47. I don't need Spence. I've been undisputed. Now, that could be some frustration, but take the emotion out of it. That's what he said. So the sanctioning body said, we're going to be a little nefarious. We're going to show them who the boss is. Now, that's what happened. But then the WBC, WBA, conversation behind the scenes. This is what I always say. Man, if that fly on the wall could talk, you get all these different content creators. We know what's going to happen. Spence and Crawford are going to happen. Let me tell you something. Nobody knew. And that fight's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen because I don't know. I'm not the fly on the wall. But what I do know is this. The sanctioning bodies got together and they said, hold on. Spence, the WBC is holding their position. Spence has to fight Thurman. Thurman gave up his title. No one beat him for it. So we're obligated to give the inactive Thurman a shot at Spence. Everyone kind of agrees. Spence ain't trying to hear that. I don't want to give this guy no shot. He didn't want to give me a shot. I'll never give him a shot. Wonk, 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 Charlie Brown, right? Then you look at what happens here. All of a sudden, they're going to make the fight. Boxing fans are shocked. A couple months goes by, you're not hearing nothing because they're sorting out this crazy tournament style, welterweight tournament style, Super 6 kind of crap going on. But they're making sure Spence fights Thurman. Thurman doesn't get an opportunity to win a title. Now, I think that's foul, man. That's wrong. Now, let's just stop and look at Spence and Thurman at 154. What in the world would make Thurman take that fight? Is it that he wants to beat Spence's butt that bad? Is it because there's some other promises or something that were made to him if he was to take the fight at 154? Is it because Thurman can't cut down to 147? Okay? Or is Thurman that desperate? But in my opinion, that fight should be for 147. Or is it that they know Thurman may touch Spence up and beat Spence? Because Thurman hits hard and he has the kind of movement that could create problems. Okay? Now, or they make that fight at 154 because they said, all right, Spence, we know you don't want to fight him. You want to give him a chance to win the title. So, hey, look, we owe it to Thurman, but let's go ahead and give him a shot, but we'll do it at 154. That way, we check the box. He kind of gets what he wants, but he doesn't get a shot at the title. You have to meet your mandatory, but you don't have to worry about losing your titles, right? We care about you guys. We're your friends. We're the sanctioning bodies. We love y'all. We love our fighters, right? Spence decides to go for that. But 154, remember, Spence been looking kind of healthy lately. I don't know if you see him running around here. Spence look like he been eating potatoes. I know his dad Jamaican. Maybe he out there eating some yams, eating that aki. Somebody out there bubbling up some saltfish with tomatoes, man. Right? So Spence looking kind of healthy out there. So maybe it's an issue with Spence and the weight. Nonetheless, this special permit bullcrap, right? This tells you that boxing is corrupt. But what this also tells you, and what y'all need to pay attention to, is this, right? People just looking at, 154, they're fighting a super welterweight. Forget all that. What happens, and what have we seen happen in the past when fighters who go up in weight? Now, don't get me wrong, I always say this. Spence and Keith Thurman going for fighting, the fight weight being contracted at 154 opposed to 147, right? It's not like the two of them have to go and eat steak and potatoes and take protein shakes, right? And sit there, man, and, knock back creatine, right? They don't need to do that. It's not like they're gaining weight to fight. Those boys come down past 154 to get at 147. So they're just stopping the weight division above where they normally go. So no one is a small fighter who's going up in weight. But it gives an advantage to them both because they don't have to drain themselves. I think Spence more than Thurman. Okay? But what happens when a fighter goes up in weight? You look at Roy Jones. True, he did have to gain some weight going into that Ruiz fight. Look at Antonio Tarver, put on all that weight for that damn movie, right? You look at Chad Dawson, he dropped down the weight from 175 to fight Andre Ward. His career ended after that. Okay? So what I'm getting at is when guys normally go up in weight, or if they come down, they're never the same. Or if they move up, they never come back down. So with Earl Spence going up to 154, I'm telling you, it's going to feel real good to him. Going up to 154, it's going to feel real good to him. I almost said something, but I don't want to say nothing inappropriate, right? You think he want to stop experiencing that feeling when he get into the ring? Nah. So Spence is smart. Derek James is smart. They're not going to sit there now and fight at 154. And this is my opinion. I just can't see him bubbling back down to 147, killing himself to go on a fight with Terrence Crawford. Now, I will say this. Maybe he'll do it if the money's there. But by him fighting Keith Thurman at 154, it's a positive and a negative. The positive is Spence gets to be active, and he's fighting someone who has been inactive as well, right? So Thurman is still a threat. If Thurman has 75% of what he possessed when he fought Porter, when he fought Garcia, right? When he fought other fighters, the Robert Guerreros. If Thurman still has 75% of that, Earl Spence could be in trouble. I'm not saying Thurman's going to win, but I'm saying and he could crack. He may not knock him out cold at 154. Thurman has a bit of an advantage too. But what I'm getting at is, for Earl Spence, why in the world would he come now after coming up taking on a guy like Keith Thurman, who he should be able to knock some rust off, but at the same time, it's kind of a negative because now he has to come down and weight again. So we got to really understand, why would he risk coming back down to 147 and taking a loss to Terence Crawford for all those titles? Now, the question is this, right? If Earl Spence chooses to go forward with a Crawford fight, right, would he boil down to 147 for the fight, or would he come down and miss the weight? You see? Because if he comes down and he misses the weight on purpose, like was pointed out to me by my boy Mills, right? Because we were talking about this, then those titles aren't on the line. You see, there's so many funky rules. So who knows what Spence is going to do if he has to come down. Maybe he decides, after Thurman, 60 days, try to make the fight with Crawford. If Crawford agrees to everything, because we know Crawford isn't going to just accept anything, but if he agrees to everything, I can see Spence not coming in at 147. And now those belts aren't on the line. And then they fight. And Spence has the weight advantage because he didn't kill himself to get to 147. And he gets in there and he beats Crawford. And Crawford doesn't win the belts because Spence had an unfair advantage. And I'm sure Spence won't mind giving up maybe $1 million of his fight purse just to make sure he has the advantage. And then Spence moves up to 154. And then Jermell Charlo moves up to 160. And then Terence Crawford is there looking crazy. Because now, if he wants to fight for that undisputed distinction at welterweight, well, you got Cody Crowley fighting. You got Santillan fighting. You got Boots Ellis out there fighting. You got Alexis Rocha, who's coming into the mix. Keith Thurman may come down. You got Virgil Ortiz. You got Stanley Eunice. All those guys are going to pick up some of that hardware. It's 3 belts. It's about 6 or 7 solid fighters. Some of them are going to pick up that hardware. Now, Terence Crawford has to start all over again. Now, what Terence Crawford could do is say, you know what? F this. I'm going to drop my WBO strap. And now Terence Crawford, giving up his belt, creates an opportunity for guys at welterweight to snatch that up too. Crawford goes up to 154 and chases Spence there, or chases some fights there. But what I'm getting at is, I personally think Earl Spence, he definitely doesn't want to give Keith Thurman a shot, and he definitely doesn't want to sacrifice getting down to 147 and possibly being at a disadvantage, because I think it's easier for Crawford to make that weight than Earl Spence. And then he goes in there and he loses the title to Terence Crawford. I think, like my boy Mills said, for Earl Spence, he may sign to make that fight. He may agree to everything with Crawford, but he just may not make the weight. And now the belts are on the line. He beats Crawford, and then he just bounces out the division, and Crawford never gets a chance to become undisputed at welterweight. And we know he's not going to become undisputed up at 154. I mean, he can give a good run, a good account of himself, but it's not going to happen. So while we sit here and scratch our heads, you got to look at the other things. So now we got Spence and Crawford pretty much covered, right? Because Crawford has a return and he's got to face a mandatory. Okay, so realistically, Crawford and Spence, they're fighting different opponents before the summer. So those two, if they can sort things out within 60 days, they'll probably be fighting around September timeframe, right? Now, during that time, You got Boots Ennis, who's got to fight Villa, Stan Eunice and Ortiz. Those 4 names right there, right? Then you got Cody Crowley, who's in the mix. Yukas is back in the mix, right? Like this is what's going on. Rashidi Ellis, yeah, he kind of off the radar, but he's not totally out of the equation because he gave a good representation of himself this weekend, but he just got touched up. That's all that happened. So when you look at that, and even Karen Chukhadzian, he's in the mix, right? Blair Cobb is in the mix. All of these fights are going to be taking place. And the sanction bodies did all of this to get their guys postured so that when Spence gives up those belts and go to 154, they've already had their eliminator bouts. So these guys can now go and either be awarded the title or have to go and fight someone else for the title. But a lot of them are already going to be in position to where they just get the belt handed to them if Spence moves up. And if Crawford moves up, that WBO strap becomes available. Now you're going to see a guy like, and I'm telling y'all, y'all may laugh at this. Don't be surprised if the Flair Cobb ends up with some hardware around his waist by the time the end of the year happens or early 2024. Because you figure it's going to create a vacuum effect, man. If Spence and Crawford pull up out of there, what's going to happen? You see what I'm saying? Shit. Thurman is pretty much done with boxing, okay? So let's just forget about Thurman. Porter's out of there. Danny Garcia's already bounced, okay? And then you take you take Spence and Crawford out of the welterweight division. Those 5 names, Crawford, Spence, Thurman, Danny Garcia, Porter, for the most part, those guys have been carrying the welterweight division. Pacquiao may decide to come back in there and pick up a belt. Pacquiao not stupid. He's still saying he's in the gym. Man, if Crawford and Spence bounced and those belts became available, you better believe Pacquiao going to insert himself in the mix. I already think, I forgot about this. Don't be surprised if Crawford and Spence, right? I really don't think that the fight's going to happen. Don't be surprised if Spence chooses not to come down. Now, if he does come down, he ain't gonna make the weight anyway to fight Crawford. He's gonna come with a weight advantage and no belts are on the line. But don't be surprised if Crawford says no to the undisputed distinction after he faces his mandatory, because Crawford and Pacquiao may be fighting late this year. Now, I don't know which fight at this point is gonna give Crawford more money. But if Crawford truly doesn't care about legacy, truly doesn't care, well, he already feels he has his legacy intact. But if he doesn't care about growing his legacy and becoming undisputed again, he's all about his money and getting ready to retire. The man has several children. All of his kids, man, lovely kids, active in sports and stuff like that. That's what Crawford's thinking about. That man's all about his money now. If the Pacquiao fight will give Crawford more money than Spence, don't be surprised if Crawford takes that. Because Pacquiao's not a guy who's just going to throw random crap out there. Like Oscar De La Hoya, pitches with his shirt off and jabbing and uppercut and showing his signature left hook. I'm going to return to the ring. Never makes a return, right? All bullshit. Pacquiao's not that kind of guy. Pacquiao is Al Capone. He will go all the way. The Filipinos are about that life. But the Filipinos are about his money, and so is Terrence Crawford. So when you look at all this, you got a whole lot of good welterweights that are there. Sanctioning bodies are putting these guys in title eliminators, putting them in fights for becoming a mandatory, right? Putting them in interim title bouts, right? They're putting them out there. They're getting them in position. Look, they're playing chess out here. And you watch. As someone wins, slide them up. Look what happened this weekend. Jaron Ennis, Karen Chukhadzian, right? Ennis won. Didn't look that great, but he won. Then you look at what happened there. Rashidi Ellis and Villa. They took Villa, slide him up there with Boots Ennis. That's a fight now. Chukhadzian, we got to figure out where we're going to move him now, right? He got to come down. This is what they're doing. Look at the movements, man. You got, and wait till they announce what the hell's going on with this guy's Giovanni Santillan. Wait, find out what's going on with Crowley's already for February. He's in a WBC eliminator, so he's accounted for. Against who? I don't know. Wait till they tell you what's going on with Keita Obara. and all these other guys, man, right? Wait till you start seeing what's going on. It's going to form like Voltron. They're going to have these guys set up just waiting because they're anticipating the move, and they're forcing Crawford and they're forcing Spence out of the welterweight division. I'm telling you, man. Look at what's going on. And for those of you who are telling me, nah, when it comes to the undisputed, all these sanctioning bodies are going to agree. Listen, I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. If you get one of the guys, one of the sanctioning bodies don't want to sign off on allowing an undisputed or a unified fight go forward, it doesn't go forward. It should take precedence, but it's not a guarantee. And for those of you who are new to the channel, those who've been on the channel know what I'm about to say, but those of you who are new to the channel, look at what's going on at 175. Okay? Damn, Yardy and Beterbiev about to fight. The winner of that said he want to fight Bivol for the undisputed. WBC is blocking that. The WBC is like, I don't care what y'all doing. We got Caleb Smith here, the mandatory. The winner between Yardy and Beterbiev, they're going to fight the WBC mandatory. And then the winner of that, because the WBC hoping Caleb Smith wins, then he'll go fight for the undisputed. You see, it's politics, man. And then you say, okay, whatever, Hood. Okay, look at Josh Taylor, what they did to him. That was horrible. Horrible. Josh Taylor isn't a guy like Terrence Crawford who won all those belts at 140 and then just decided with the quickness to drop him and move because of just the ridiculous sanctioning fees and all the other crap. Crawford ain't hold on to them belts long at all. He won them belts, checked the box, dropped it, and moved right up to 147. So I say all of that to say this. I don't think, or I'm not confident, that we're going to get that Spence and Crawford fight. Because when you look at it historically, when fighters go up in weight, they don't want to come down in weight. They just don't want to do it. And if they do come down, normally they fall flat on their face. So if Spence decides, if him and Crawford can make the fight, right? First, they got to agree. But if they agree, don't be surprised if Spence doesn't come into that fight at 147. He comes in over, he pays a penalty, and then the fight goes on, but for no belts, because now Crawford doesn't get an opportunity to become undisputed. And then after that fight, if Spence beats him, he moves up to 154, and Jermell Charlo bumps up to 160. Now, that's how I see it. I'm not going to come here and create a narrative to try to get a bunch of people to subscribe to my channel or to get a bunch of people. That's why I need to start doing lives. The super thank button and give me money, because I'm just basically, man, just rewashing the same topic 25, 30 times and get people to come out here and take advantage of them. If you've watched this video, you made it to the end, you want to donate something, great. But what I want you to take from this, man, is try to really analyze what's going on. Let's not just focus on Spence. Let's not just focus on Crawford. Look at what's going on with everyone underneath him. Look at the movements. Let's pay attention to what these sanctioning bodies are saying and doing. Okay? Understand. There's something going on here beneath the surface that affects everything at the top. And I really, really, truly feel that these sanctioning bodies want Spence and Crawford up out of the welterweight division. I think they put a target on his back. And I think they know Spence can't make that 147 anymore. He's tired of doing it. And if you put him in there with killers, young up-and-coming killers, still got to give Spence the edge. But mentally, when you're like, I don't want to do it, I'm tired, kink in the armor, then you got him. So I think they're setting Spence up to lose if he chooses to keep campaigning at 147. And at the same time, I'm thinking they're forcing Crawford to get frustrated because everyone's calling him a duck. He's fighting all these guys that are really low threat, C, B level fighters, and they're going to keep putting him in that position. And he's going to give him that WBO because he can't get the fights he wants. And he's going to go up to 154, and he's going to be jumping around weight classes just like Demetrius Andre. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. Appreciate the support if you choose to do it financially. If not, all good. Just tune in. Keep the content coming. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. All 7 continents. Hope you got something from this video. In the breeze.